All right, moving right along here on the Xfinity Sports Report, your Colorado High School connection. Welcome back, everybody. Brian Roth with you. Happy to be joined in studio by John Kikowski, our resident baseball expert here at XSR, and also runs the website prepbaseballreport.com for the Colorado area. Great to have you again,
Hey, thanks
John.
for having me again, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Baseball season. I know baseball season's year-round for someone like you in your position, but it's finally here, and of course, snow is accompanying it. Anyway, listen, this is a baseball season. I think it's going to turn out to be a very good one. We're going to preview 4A and 5A, talk about some of the top prospects as well. But first, I want to talk to you about Eaton. And for the first time in 45 years, Jim Danley will not be the head coach at Eaton. Of course, got let go. And it's going to be strange if you go out and watch an Eaton Red baseball game and Jim Danley is not in the dugout.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be different. There's no doubt. Obviously, he was a big part of their community. But I think it's also impressive that, you know, he's a total grinder. He's going to be helping out at Littleton with another legendary coach, Coach Bodie.
Yeah.
He just loves working with kids. And so he's going to come down and help out Littleton. And, yeah, it's going to be different, but I think it's also an opportunity for him to see what else is out there and show off how great of a coach he is by going to another community and helping out those kids.
Yeah, 45 years again for Jim Danley at Eaton. They won 11 state championships, including last year, 807 career wins there at Eaton. I mean, Jim Danley, you talk about a living legend. He certainly is that. And again, mentioned going with Bob Bodie at Littleton. Bob, of course, winning 5 state championships with the Niwot Cougars. Speaking of Eaton, though, and the Bob Irvin, longtime assistant for Jim Danley, going to take over. They are the favorites, though, in 3A.
Yeah, they have everyone back.
Yeah.
They have pretty much, in a sense, the same team that they had last year. And they've got some very good pitching with, obviously, they've got Dalton Lind, who's coming back this year. Matt Burkhart's a UNC going to Northern Colorado. He's one of their top hitters and another kid who could throw. They've got a lot of depth, and I would fully expect them to be the favorite to win the 3A state championship again this year.
So some things just never change, and again, we'll see how it shakes down there in Class 3. All right, let's go to Class 4A now, and but one of the teams that I know I've heard a lot of people talking about is D'Evelyn. Now, made a run to the Final Four last season. You'd think they have a chance to go further here this year?
No, I do. I think they're actually, based on what we're seeing, I think they're maybe the favorites to win the 4A this year. Kid I love to death on their team, Cameron Brown. He is, I believe, the best left-handed pitcher in the state. He's committed to Notre Dame. A game I watched him last year, he threw a 2-hitter, struck out 14 against Green Mountain, who ended up winning the state championship at Green Mountain. So that kid has got a lot of ability. He's back, and they've got some other really good players that are coming back as well that should be right there again in the mix.
Right, and we turned, I believe, 4 of their top 6 hitters from last year's team. Of course, again, that made that run deep in that 5A championship series. You mentioned Green Mountain, Coach Brad Deal, and those Rams back-to-back state championships.
Brad Madden.
Yeah, Brad Madden. That's right.
Sorry, no, Brad Madden.
Yeah.
You know what? He is, now people realize he's won a state championship at Golden.
Yeah.
And to a Green Mountain, and he kind of flies under the radar a little bit, but he's one of the best coaches in the state, and they will be ready to play. They've got Featherston back, who's a Western Kentucky commit. They're still talented, and I think they did lose some pitching, but I think Green Mountain is showing at the 4A level that they can reload a little bit, and I don't think people thought they'd win it last year back-to-back, and so why wouldn't they have a chance to do it this year? They do have some good players coming back.
Right. You mentioned Featherston going to Western Kentucky. By the way, Brad Deal was a former coach at Fort Collins, now at Windsor.
Now he's at Windsor, and Windsor's got a really good pitcher, Jake Greenwald, who throws over 90, going to Colorado Mesa. So Windsor's going to be in the mix a little bit as well. So
Windsor will be there in Class 4A as well. Can't forget about some of the other powers that have been around, including Lewis Palmer. You talk about a team that made a run last year, lost to Green Mountain the state championship game, and boy, they bring back a very special kid in Paul Tillotson.
Yeah, he's committed to Nebraska, and I think they'll win 90% of the games that he pitches. He's that good. He brings a lower 90 fastball that's effective at any level in any state. I've seen this kid pitch a lot. He's really, really good, and he can swing it. So just him alone on the mound, they've got some guys coming back that can help him, but every time he goes out there, he could beat any 5A team, 4A team, whatever team in the state of Colorado when he's pitching. He's that good.
Yeah, Lewis Palmer also, a new coach here this year, also brings back Billy Cook at third base there for them. So watch out for Lewis Palmer. Then a team I know you like down there, also in the Colorado Springs area, is Air Academy.
I like Air Academy a lot. They've got, Bailey Hansen is a kid, a senior who's kind of flying on the radar a little bit this year. He's committed to Pacific. He's an upper 80s kid on the mound. Cole McKissick is going to Appalachian State. They've got some D1 talent on that team, and they were close to getting to the Final 8 last year. they've had a lot of success with wins and losses, and I think that they're going to be a team that maybe people might not be seeing, but I think they're one of the top 40 teams in the state.
All right, should be a wide open race there in Class 4. It'll be interesting to watch as the season goes. Let's move to 5A now, John, and talk about a team that's just absolutely loaded at the pitching spot. I mean, really an embarrassment of riches for Regis Jesuit. Talk about some of the arms that they have.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same spot we were last year when we talked. They are loaded. It's unfair, I think, because they've got Bo Weiss, North Carolina, 90 plus 90 mile per hour fastball. They've got Travis Marr, who's going to Clemson, same thing. And then they've got a kid, Caleb Sloan, who's been recently offered at Arizona State, who just came to one of our events, and he was 91, 92 in late February. And so obviously on the mound, and they've got other guys that can fill in. So they can throw out a 1-2-3 starting combination that no other team in the state can compete with. And you got Quinn Cotton, who can hit. They're loaded. They're loaded.
Quinn Cotton, of course, going to Grand Canyon, and wait, 3 guys that pump 90 on one staff. And if you get one kid at the high school level, you know that those upper 80s, you're going to be in a good
You're going to
spot.
ride that kid. They don't have to do that.
Right.
So,
and again, remember this is a Regis team last year too that kind of struggled through most of the regular season, made a run, got into the championship series, state runner-up 2 years ago when they lost to Rocky Mountain. I mean, they've done it for a long time there at Regis, and now head coach Matt Darr. All right, now a team that we had on last week facing Regis was Cherry Creek, a battle of 1 versus 2. But hey, Mark Johnson has the Bruins back where Mark Johnson always has the Bruins.
Yeah, you start with Tanner Atremba there. He's probably their #1 option on the mound. They've got some other pitching too, and they're always going to be in the mix, Cherry Creek. They lost some solid players last year. Blake Goldsberry graduated off to Kansas, but I think everyone expects Cherry Creek to reload. They've got some other good fill-in players. The Chavez kid can really hit. He's a nice 2017 looking kid. And hey, they're going to be a little younger than they've normally been over the last couple of years, but I think they're going to be just fine, and expect them to be right in the mix for the final 8 spot in 5A.
Yeah, and pretty good arm too with Nate Sweeney as well.
Oh, Sweeney, of course, Arizona kid. He's one of our top 10 ranked kids, and Sweeney, when he throws strikes, he's a kid who can bring in the low 90s consistently. Last year, again, they had some seniors ahead of him a little bit, so he didn't pitch as much, but expect Sweeney to step in and be one of the top pitchers in 5A this year as well.
Yeah, I don't even think he threw 10 innings last year.
No, I mean, they just didn't. That's how much depth they've got as a program. They didn't need him, and I remember days out coaching high school. If I had a kid who threw 90, I would use him a lot, probably.
Right. You're gonna be trotting him out there just about every other game, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm excited to see him pitch this year. He's a good kid too.
Absolutely. And again, you mentioned Otremba, just a freshman last year, freshman All-American. Stay in that Centennial League. How about Grandview? They have a new head coach, as Scott Henry, who used to lead that Smoky Hill program, comes over to take over the Wolf baseball program.
Scott and I go way back. I remember when we started coaching, we were 18 years old. He's a great guy, and I'm glad to see him get that job. Dean Adams helps out with Prep Baseball Report now, and he also helps out. He's the head of the College Dugout Club, and Grandview is, they got Grant Schroeder coming back. He's going to Arkansas State, and he led them to a good playoff run last year. They've got Nick Morris, who's 6'6", coming back on the mound. They've got some options. They got a lot of starting pitching coming back. Sunloft, Central Arizona, is a left-handed pitcher who can see Sundin, some time on the mound as well, who's very talented left-handed thrower as well. So. And
of course, it's impossible to talk about 5A baseball without talking about Scott Bullock and Rocky Mountain. Are the Lobos going to be in the mix again this year?
Yeah, I think last year, they had to drive across the state and go to Grand Junction. They ran into a buzzsaw McDermott for Smoky Hill, who's a really good pitcher. But they bring everyone back. And right now, they're, they got an opportunity to participate in the National High School Invitational for USA Baseball, and they even just get accepted to go play in that is a huge honor. Best teams in the country. They've got a lot of talent coming back. They've got Sorensen, they've got Allery pitching, they've got most of their outfield back. They'll be right there.
What about the defending state champs and 5A Rock Canyon? Of course, that was really a miraculous run for them last season. I believe they lost their first game in the 5A championship series, came storming back.
Had a lot of comebacks.
Yeah, they took down the state championship first in school history. What do the Jaguars have coming back?
They're well coached by Tyler Monroe, and I think they've got some position players coming back. I like Matt Gibbon, their third baseman, who was part of that core team last year. He throws in the upper 80s on the mound as well, so he'll be pitched a little bit more this year. They've got a couple middle infielders I like a lot, Nick Marone, and they've got Hammonds. They've got they got the Myers kids, so they've got a lot of action up the middle as well. Personally, I think they'll be in the mix. You know, they lose Dietz, their starting pitcher from last year, who got it through a lot of games, but I think they'll be in the mix again this year as well.
All right, so those are some of the top teams in Class 5A, Class 4. I talked a little bit about Class 3A. Now, one of the things that Prep Baseball Report does really well, you guys have your player rankings, and of course, you guys like to promote players. Get them looks by not only college scouts, but professional scouts as well. Let's take a look at your class of 2016 and two of your top 10 guys.
It's been pretty consistent over the last. We just recently put out our new rankings, and we ranked 200 2016 kids, which was kind of fun to do. You know, we got Weiss there, Jake Eisler of Thunder Ridge, Texas Christian commit. You know, in Arizona, he threw a one-hit shutout and struck out 16 kids. And you know, Jake's going to lead the Grizzlies. We talked about Tolotzen. You got Maverick Hanley, the catcher at Mullen. Quentin Cotton, we spoke of. Preston Snavely's a pitcher at Fort Collins, who's an upper 80s kid committed to Wichita State. You know, Featherston's in that mix. Tommy Gilman is in that mix
Texas
for Tom.
A&M.
He's going to Texas A&M. You know, it's a good top 10. It's a good class. The 2016 is a really, really good class for our state, and they're really, really talented.
All right, how about the 2017 class? Who should we watch out for that are juniors this year?
You know, again, we talked about Caleb Sloan a little bit for Regis. He's our #1 right now. We just recently did our rankings up to 160 2017 kids. Liam Eddy from Brighton, he throws 90. You know, he's committed to Wichita State. And then you've got the catcher from Heritage, Casey Opitz, who carries a good family name.
Right.
I think Heritage is going to be flying under the radar this year. They got a lot of talent. They can be in the mix too in 5A. Then you've got Sorensen. You know, it's a pretty good class. Not as deep from 1 through 25 possibly, but there's a lot of talented kids. I really like Jack Winkler of Chatfield. He's come on the scene, and Tyson Hayes of Grandview. I like those two kids. Winkler's his older brother Kyle went to Ohio, a really good athlete in our state. Well, Jack's a really good baseball player as well. And the Chatfield Chargers, I think, are also a team to be reckoned with this year.
Right, that was another one of your sleepers, of course, Chatfield. The way they got off to last season had a coaching change when I believe like 0-6 in the opening. 3 weeks of the season, made a run to the state championship game and nearly took down a state title.
And
hey,
they
John,
bring a lot of guys back in.
Absolutely. We always appreciate your insight. Thanks for coming on. We'll get you on coming up in May when we start breaking down the 4A and 5A postseason.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. Always like talking baseball with you. I appreciate it. All right.
That's John Kukowski. He runs the Prep Baseball Report here in the state of Colorado. If you haven't been to it, check it out. PrepBaseballReport.com. All right, we'll take a break. More to come here on this week's program. Up next, but first we take a time out here on XSR.